Good morning, guys. Welcome to this Friday, July 25th, 25. So, we're coming into the last day of the week. Market has been stubbornly holding on to their gains, slowly grinding higher. It's just a pretty spectacular thing to watch. We have earnings coming out regularly now, the big techs. I don't have a schedule right in front of me when the next big tech comes out, but it started off on Wednesday with Tesla and Google, and so far market is not having a hissy fit by any means by the earnings number. Even if, for instance, Tesla came out a little bit weaker than expected. But then again, that a lot of tailwinds from what's going on in the bigger picture. And I think, as I said early on, this month is all about trade deals, tariffs, and if they can get that sorted out. On top of that, we get the earnings, and both of them seems to be at least passing the muster of the market. So we are holding on to their gains, and we are pointed higher. So the way it looks to me is you can see the overnight. Yesterday was a little bit of a pause day at the highs. The years extended to the upside again. Looks like the overnight extended again. We'll see how we're going to interpret that one in a little bit. If they back off hard from this level today, I'm not going to be looking at this as an extension, but at this point, definitely a little bit to the upside in the overnight. So far, we still holding the lower end of yesterday's trading. 63.95 is holding, haven't even been tested. So, and of course, we are trading at pretty light volume. So. If they start backing off, the ledge to watch is really down here at the 63.50s. I mean, you can see this whole thing can be reversed pretty quick. Light volume has been moving this higher, and so it doesn't need much for this one to get knocked down to back to the 63.50s. And if that edge comes out, we have a lower range, and then we have the 63.50. So both of those are very much in place still. And I would just look to buy against both of those if the market gets there. It could be a pretty ugly day when it sells off that hard, but as long as that 63.15 holds, I think the uptrend stays intact. So that's kind of the bigger picture. So 63.50, 63.15 is on the way down, big numbers to pay attention to. And initially, I'm going to just start flat out looking to buy weakness. Uh, at this point, against the 6400s, 63.95, 63.80. 86, 88 here. That's the mode of Wednesday. 63.75 and the 63.65s. If they start taking out these areas, the 63.75 and the 65s, probably taking off the long bias. Looking at by weakness, I think if it backs off that much, I think we have maybe a bigger problem going on. Doesn't mean that they can't, this early weakness, they can't knock it down harder, but I would just take off the long bias and go back range bound at that point. Still looking to buy against the 63.50s, the 45s, 35s down to the 15s there. It is this ledge right there is your 50 edge right there, 63.50. That's your first level to pay attention to. That level comes out, then we have something. It's a little bit more of a pullback going on. So if these two levels, the 75 and the 80, 75 and the 65 comes out on the way down, I would take off the long bias. If 63.50 comes out, yeah, then that would be the last level below the obvious to try to get long against. And remember what that was, right? That is this edge right here. So here's your 63.50 edge. So that would be this right there. So if that ledge comes out, we're back in this lower range and potentially could back off a little bit more. But I would be just a little bit more aggressive in taking off the long bias. If they trade below that 65 level, 65 and 75, I think they're going to have a harder time retracing this. Doesn't mean they can't, but I would just assume it's going to be a little bit tougher to get back on the long side of this. But early on, if you get they knock it down here, the 6400, 6395, and the 6385s, all these three are fairly good areas to get long against. More weakness than that, yeah, you have to start thinking about what's maybe going on. It's still not a huge range. 85 down to up to the 60, it's like 15 points. So it's not a huge range. So backing off to the 75, 65, still looking to buy against those. Below that, take off the long bias. Last level to get long against as part of early weakness would be that 63.50s. Below that, we are back in that lower range again, and probably chances are we may even see a test of these lower areas, these lower edges, 63.20s. But that would be a pretty bad day if they retrace it that far. We have nothing in terms of news in front of us to cause that to happen. Durable goods at 8:30. That's all we have on tap when it comes to news. So just one piece of news at 8:30, and that's it. So I would probably be looking for more of the same. The only thing I can think about is think of could potentially cause some weakness is this is Friday afternoon. People going into the weekend without positions also, but it's not really any big news items to worry about either. So I would not be surprised if we hold on to their gains, maybe get a little bit of weakness, but pretty much looking at a continuation of this trend we have been in. So that's how we get started this morning. Looking to buy weakness. Let's see how far I can take it on the upside. Watch the levels here at the 65 and 75, and that's 63.50s. If 50 comes out, we know that it definitely puts a damper on the whole thing, and we are back in that lower range again. So that's how we get started on the ES. On the way up, looking for shorts against the 64.10s and the 64.15s, 15 to 20s here. A lot of caution on those. I mean, it is grinding higher, and you never know which one's going to hold, but they can keep grinding higher too. So you maybe just find yourself stuck in a trade if you get too aggressive on that. But when the market is light like that, at one point you're going to get a little bit of a knockdown. The question is just when. I don't think the news today is going to be such that we see a big reaction, but you never know when you get a headline come out from somewhere. And it's hard to say what if the headlines you can expect is probably more on the positive side, like a trade deal has been done or something like that. I don't see any expectations for something really bad to come out in terms of a headline. So there you go. Starting off, bias to the upside. Let's see how far they can take it. It is light volume. You see 91 on the micro ES. We have 75,000 on the ES. So kind of light volume going into this Friday. Looking at the NASDAQ and the bonds, one market is just kind of stuck in the range there. They're just the same analysis as yesterday. Starting to get repetitive, but we're just doing range bound trading. So looking to sell strength, 114, 113.14, 13.20 up to the 13.25s. Looking to buy against the 13s, 12.26 to 28s, 26 to 28s, 12.20s for rotations back up. So 3 levels down, 3 levels up. Maybe include the 13.25. Well, we did that 30, 25, 26 in the upper edge here on the bond. So just trade it in that range. If you get more moves than that, we may have a directional move, but you can see the day range is pretty consistent. We're holding in in like a point or less. And we're usually holding within 2, maybe 3 levels of support or resistance. So I stay range bound on the bonds. Nasdaq is the one which I think can surprise today. They've been up here against resistance yesterday. They stalled overnight. Have been trying to take it higher and got knocked down a little bit. But if Nasdaq can take out the 23,400s here and really start extending, that would be something. Not sure if they have enough to do that today. I mean, or any earnings came out yesterday hasn't knocked it down. We only had the durable goods number come out, so there is a shot still. We'll see if they can do it, but I would start off looking for early strength and see if they can take out these highs. In other words, same story as the ES, looking to buy weakness. Initially against the 350s, the 320s, and 280s for rotations back up. I think below 280s, take off the long bias, go back more range bound. At that point, they're backing off that upper edge a bit more than it should. But if they hold here above that area, the 23,290s, and just goes back and forth, we're still pretty much on the long side of this, looking for moves, looking for moves to the upside. Now, on the way up, we are at an upper edge here. So the 23 390s and the 420s are valid short setups. We are not in the stage one as the ES. ES is in stage one, still extending. Nasdaq kind of stalled, and they're back up to testing this upper edge. Haven't quite taken it out. Even if overnight looks like they took it out with a few ticks there, but not going to quite count that there just yet. It's we want to see the day session really extend before we start getting excited about then extending to the upside. So we're still very much in the spot here where we have one, two, almost three times that trying to take it higher. So at one point here, they're going to fail, and someone's going to take profit and knock this back down into that lower range. And that would be moved probably down towards the 23 200. So it's going to be the midpoint is run about here at the 200s. So we'll see how it develops. But initially looking to buy against these three support areas for rotations back up. If they go lower, still looking for potential long setups against the 230s and 200s, but just back on the range bound side of things at that point. All right. And then let's see how things develop. Looking at oil and gold. So oil first, just kind of holding in the range, same as before. You can see how the volume is starting to build up here at the 65, 66s. Very much a big distribution building here. After that, this is also in the Middle East war, the Israeli thing with the Iranians got taken care of, all kind of crashed down, stalled right here at the 65s, or actually at the 64 here, that low volume area, and they have not taken that out at all since. So we're sitting here. I'm just waiting for them to take it lower. So there's nothing out there really which is going to be driving prices higher more than in the short term. So you can have short term issues which drives prices higher, like these Houthis started shooting again or something like that. Something going on with Russia maybe. It depends, but I think there will be short term moves to the upside. Overall, the prices will be starting to come down pretty good. I mean, this whole big was all geopolitical risk, and as that comes off, we're getting into the regular supply demand part of oil, and it's just going to head lower. So I would start off flat out range, but not much else to say about it. It's look to sell strength 66.70, 67.20, 67.50s. Look to buy weakness 66s, 65.60s, 65.30s for rotations back up, maybe down to the 64.80s here. You can see the steady wind moving this lower. So, but it looks to me like this the lower edge. They were down here testing that edge on oil, this lower edge, and it looks like it held. They were down here. You can see here, and they were down here a couple of days ago. It held, and since then has been trading right back up to the main. This is just uncanny. This is how the range bound market works. They're testing the edges. If they can't take it out, go back to the mean. Back and forth it goes. So oil, range bound trading on oil and gold. On the short side, gold is having a bad few days. Look at that thing. So gold, in the bigger picture, look at capital flow. And they were way up there. We had this big spike to the upside. They took out the 8082s. They took out the volume edge at the 3415s, and it looked to me like they were heading higher. That was concerning, right? This is really concerning. Why is gold doing this? Right? Something going on we haven't seen yet. And then absolute total collapse right back down again, 3340s. So there you have it. Pretty much it's hard to say what that was, to be honest with you. Could be a big central bank down buying gold, and then could be speculation. But this was crazy. So something may be brewing somewhere and then complete gone. But that is what makes gold really difficult to trade. You can't if you're long on a trade there and you screwed up your stop, you have blown up your account and then some. So trade gold from a short side of the market to get started. Look to sell strength at this point against the 45 would be aggressive, 50s, 55s up to that 60 level, 61. Above London high, take off the short bias, go back more range bound. Still looking for short setups all the way up into the 75s. I think the upper edge towards there is the 75s. Yeah, up to the 80s. So 80s gets us back to that prior distribution edge. This edge up here, this prior distribution edge. We're going to be rolling gold here next week, the 29th, I believe, to the December contract. So it's coming up. The gold back here, and if they can't take it lower, just remember, this is the back right to an attractor. So the first time to the attractor, the bounce probably happened already, but it's first time to a high volume area like that. You may see that little bounce, and they thereafter probably stay range bound. Now, initially, I'm looking for looking at the short side of this, see if they can take this lower, given the overnight and what's been happening. So I wouldn't be surprised if they try to shoot it a little bit lower here, but it's if they can't really, if it's nothing really structurally going on with gold, they're probably going to be pushing these lower support areas, then rotating right back to that 33, 40, 45s. So I'm not going to buy against the 38s, 30s, 26s, 20s, down to the 15s here. A little bit more, as the farther it goes, the more of an opportunity I think you're going to get on that. But it's just kind of running out to the other side of the edge. But the caveat is always if there's something underlying, it may just not stop, you know. So always, even if it runs into support area, just look for setup trigger, look for a failure to take it out. If they take it out, just kind of stay with it. So we'll see. Head well. So those are the two options I can see. If they get early strength, look for short setup for rotations back down. If they start moving this lower, look for buying opportunities with a bit of caution. If a support area holds, we may see that rotation back to the mean, which is more the likely solution. But if it is something more structural behind it, which we haven't seen yet, then they may just keep this one going. So as you start heading lower from that big rotation down here to these lower areas, the support is going to get stronger. Just so you know. So that's what we're looking at. All right, so gold from the short side, all range bound, back to the ES, and it's going to be very interesting to see how the day shakes out. Low volumes move to the upside. The ES is still extending. Let's see if they can extend in the day session here to the upside. All right, guys. So that's how we get started. It is a Friday, middle of summer, and low volume, so I just trade it as such. I think the best advice is not to over trade it in a light volume market. It's super easy to do, but a light volume market is just usually pretty volatile and can be finicky. So take your time, look for good setups, and we'll see how that goes. All right, guys. See you back at 11:30 for the next update. So good trading. And the only thing we have on tap is durable goods in about 7 or 8 minutes. All right, guys, later.